In this video, we're going to show you how to install the radiator on your Volvo XC90 located behind your grille. With the hood open, go ahead and locate your expansion tank. Loosen and remove the expansion tank cap. Set that aside. Remove the air intake tube. There's two 8mm bolts on the front side. Loosen and remove these. Set that hardware aside as we'll be reusing that later. Now I want to take this unit and we're just going to gently pull it up and twist it as we dislodge it from the intake box down below. Rotate that up and out. On the driver's side portion of our cooling fan assembly, there's going to be two electrical connectors. Now we're not disconnecting the connectors, but we do need to remove these from the fan assembly. We're going to use our trim tool, get in right behind the retainer buttons, and just gently work those out. Okay, go ahead and tuck those harnesses off to the side. Now on the passenger side of the cooling fan assembly, there's a large bulkhead connector right here. There's a pinch tab on one side and pinch tab on the other. And then as you follow the harness up, there is a retainer on the radiator cross member or cross support here. So what we're going to do is pinch these two sides and wiggle that connector up and off. Sometimes you can use a pocket screwdriver to just get under the edge here and gently lift this up. The connectors sometimes get debris in them from being in the front of the vehicle. There it is. Follow this up and just gently pop this connector off, or this little plastic clip. Tuck that off to the side. On the upper radiator brace here, there's going to be two bolts we need to loosen and remove. There's one here on the passenger side using an 8mm socket, and one on the driver's side. Now what these are alignment pins, and they go through to the top of the radiator and align that and lock it into place. Now with the vehicle raised and supported, we do need to remove the front splash shield here, or the metal guard. And there's going to be 3 bolts on each side. There's one up inside of a pocket here, and then there's 2 on the back. Now we're going to be using our 13mm socket, and we need to loosen and remove these. Repeat for the other side. Now when you remove your bolts, the 2 shorter ones go towards the back, and then the longer one goes up through the bracket here and up into the cradle. Now this actually goes up and hooks over the top of the cradle itself. So I'm going to use my rubber mallet, and we're going to tap this. It's going to come up and out and move forward, like so. Now we want to go ahead and push this forward. We are going to have to flex the bumper just a little bit. Now we have fog lights in our vehicle, and the beam itself does come in contact with the back side of the fog light assembly, but if it just pushes forward a little bit, we can swing this down and drop that down and out. Let's do the same on the other side. On the driver's side portion of our radiator, we have our drain valve or petcock. We're going to use our 13mm deep socket. Loosen this here. Now if you want to, you can always take a hose and jam that on there and run that down to your drain bucket. Our drain bucket is right underneath it, so we're going to go ahead and capture that fluid. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and let that drain. On the driver's side lower portion of the radiator, we do want to go ahead and loosen the hose clamp and pull that hose off. Inspect that hose clamp. If it's rusty like ours, it's strongly suggested to source some replacements. And spray this down with some rust penetrant. We're using a 9/32 socket to loosen this on our 1/4" ratchet. I want to grab that hose, and there's probably going to be some more coolant in here, so make sure you have your catch can underneath. Now, if your hose clamp is as rusty as ours is, just go ahead and replace that. Now, up on the passenger side portion of our radiator up top here, we have to disconnect the upper radiator hose here. We have a hose clamp there. Now we're going to use our 9/32 box wrench here to get in there. And we're going to use this because of clearance reasons and the positioning of the hose clamp itself. A little bit of patience, we'll be able to go ahead and loosen this and slide that hose off. Now when doing this here, you definitely want to inspect the hose clamps. If they're rusty, you definitely want to go ahead and replace them. Ours has some corrosion on it, and it's not something we want to risk breaking while we're on the road with the vehicle. So we will probably source out a replacement hose clamp for this upper one, as we're going to do for the lower. Go ahead and wiggle the upper hose off and tuck that aside. Now on the passenger side of our radiator here, there's a bolt that goes through. This is an 8mm. And use our 8mm socket here, extension, and my 1/4" ratchet. Good, remove that. On the driver's side here, there was a bolt on the other side, just like there was on the passenger side. We're going to use a little bit longer of an extension here with our 8mm socket. Come around to the engine bay. There it is. On the driver's side here, we have a hard line that goes into the radiator. One here has a green locking collar on it, and there's one down below. We're going to have to disconnect these here. So what we want to do is we want to pinch the 2 green tabs together like this here, and then we need to grab the line and wiggle it and pull it out. Now sometimes a little trick, push in on the line first, and then I'm going to reach down, pinch the tabs, there it comes. Now I do have a catch can underneath, and there it goes. Now we're going to raise up the vehicle and get to the lower one as well. Let's go ahead and gain access to the lower one here. Can do the same thing. Pinch the 2 green clips inward. Now on both sides of our radiator, you're going to locate a bracket right here that has a 8mm bolt, and then right behind it is going to be another 8mm bolt. Loosen and remove these. Go ahead and repeat for the passenger side. Now, what we want to do is unbolt the two 10mm bolts. There's one on the driver's side, one on the passenger side. And at that point there, that radiator and fan are going to want to start to drop down a little bit. Along the top of the radiator is going to be an expansion tank hose that runs from the expansion tank on the passenger side, runs underneath the radiator cross member up top and over to the driver's side. That is clipped onto the radiator. I'm going to use a securing strap, run this around, and I'm going to hook it right here. We're going to use this to support our radiator and fan assembly. It's going to allow it to drop down a little bit but not fall out of the vehicle. I'm going to go back up top and disconnect that expansion tank hose from the clips. Let's lower this down and disconnect the expansion tank hose. Now here is our expansion tube. It has little brackets or little clips here that these are popped into. Literally just going to grab that hose and just wiggle it out. There's two of them on top of the fan assembly. Now this hose runs along to the driver's side of the radiator, and it uses one of those hard clamps, the clamps that are not reusable, so we're going to go ahead and remove that. Now we're going to use our tool here. It's a flathead screwdriver with a little notch cut into it that goes right into that metal loop there, and we'll tap that off. Go ahead and work that hose off the radiator. And just bring this around to the top, and we're going to discard of that old clamp. Now what we're going to do is lift this up just a little bit, remove our securing strap, and we'll start to lower this down. Now I want to go ahead and remove our fan assembly from the radiator. On the top side are going to be two 8mm bolts. Once you remove these here, I want to go ahead and lift up and pull it out. There are two locking tabs here and here, or trays that will unlock from. Let's go ahead, loosen and remove these. Lift up a little bit and slide it out. Now on the mounting brackets here for the radiator, we do have to swap over our bushing. And there's going to be a locking tab here and one on the other side. If you use a pocket screwdriver, you can reach in here and kind of bend that tab out. And there you go. Just going to slide that out. Do the same on the other side. On the top of the radiator, it's going to be these little foam inserts. Just wiggle that out. You do want to pay attention that there's a little square section here that locks right into here to help that line up. Go ahead and repeat for the other side. On the bottom of our radiator, we do have this little air deflector here. Now if you notice, there is a blade here and a blade here. When we remove it, I want to make sure that we install it onto the new radiator in the correct location. Go ahead and line up our seal here and press it on to the radiator. Press it on. Try and center it as much as possible. Now installing the side bushings here, you want to pay attention to, there's a low spot here and a high spot here. The flush part goes down and the raised part goes on the outside. So you got to line that up, snap it in. Repeat for the other side. Install the upper bushing. Make sure that square part fits right in that notch. These 2 points here are where the hard lines press into. You do want to go ahead and grab a pair of pliers or a large wrench and just snug these, make sure that these are tight before installing the unit. Go ahead and grab your fan assembly. Lower the tabs down into the radiator. Press those in. Line up your bolt holes. Once you get those two started, let's go ahead and gently snug those down. Go ahead and feed the unit up into place. And once we get it up into its general area, we can now go ahead and grab that securing strap, run it around, and support it like so. Let's install our expansion tank hose. Now we have a new hose clamp here. Get the hose clamp on, work that onto the radiator. Go ahead and snug that down. Install the hose in the clips in the top of our radiator fan. Gently rolling the hose will help prevent breaking the tabs on the cooling fan assembly. Let's get and work our unit up into place. Want to get one of our bolts started here. Once we have that bolt in a couple threads, go ahead and install the one on the passenger side. Now that we have the two main bolts in to support our radiator and assembly, we go ahead and continue on. Going to install our small bolt for the cooler on the front here. Get that started. Then we have the long bolt here, go through. Get that lined up with the AC condenser. Once you get these two in, we're going to repeat for the passenger side. Now that we have them all installed, let's go ahead and snug those down. Just snug it gently. And repeat on the other side. Now we're going to install our bolt here. On the other side, it's going to go through the radiator, the spacer here and then into our AC condenser. And get that started by hand. You can see the bolt coming through. With that started, we're going to go around to the other side and install this on the passenger side. Let's go ahead and snug that down. All right, go ahead and snug that down gently. You're going to feel it snug. Don't over tighten it. And we're going to go ahead and do the same for the passenger side. Let's go ahead and tighten up our 2 supporting bolts for our radiator. Let's go ahead and do the same for the other side. Let's go ahead and remove our securing strap. So we're going to pull our lower hose out of the way for a second here. And we want to install our lower line. Go ahead and line that up. And push that in. Make sure you feel it and hear it seat. That rubber, the green clip should be fully seated up against that unit. We did source a replacement hose clamp. Make sure that hose is fully seated there, and then we'll snug this down. Make sure it's good and tight. We use our 13mm wrench here and snug the drain on the radiator. Snug it down gently. I'll install our guard here, or shield. Work that up into place. Now we can install our bolts. Now along the driver's side here, we have the 2 bolt holes right here. Let's go ahead and get our bolts started. Now if you follow this up, there is a hole right here, and that's where the longer bolt is going to go. Feed that up inside. Wiggle that bracket around and go ahead and get that started. Now once we have these 3 started, let's go ahead and repeat the process for the passenger side. Let's go ahead and snug these down. Go ahead and repeat for the passenger side. Now in the upper portion here, I want to go ahead and install this other line right here. And I'll line that up there. And wiggle this in. There it is, it's seated. And then we need to install our connectors here. Pop that one on. Pop that one on. On the upper passenger side, we have our radiator hose to install here. Now we sourced out a replacement hose clamp, and what we're going to do is we're going to put it this way here so that the tightening portion is on the bottom. We're going to be able to come around the side over here with our driver unit to go ahead and tighten that down. And I'll stretch it over the hose. Work that all the way in. Alright, snug that down. I'm going to go ahead and connect the bulkhead connector for the radiator fan assembly. And we have the retainer clip right here that clips right on to there. So I'm going to go ahead and press the connector onto the fan assembly first. Line that up, push it down. You can hear and feel it lock in. Go ahead and grab a clean funnel, and we want to now go ahead and fill up our cooling system. So grab the appropriate coolant recommended for the vehicle and fill it up. As we fill this here, coolant is going to come down through the expansion tank and run down through the lower hose, and that is going to start to fill up the engine and our radiator. We're going to continue to do this here until it doesn't take any more, and we can fill this up to the full mark on the side of the tank. Now at this point here, our vehicle stopped taking coolant. We're going to go ahead and pull our funnel, grab that cap, go ahead and pop that on. Now what you want to do is go ahead and start up the vehicle. Let it run for about 10 minutes. Once that thermostat opens up, it's going to go ahead and suck in some of that coolant. Keep an eye on the level here. You do want to make sure that this remains at the full level when it's hot. If it doesn't, you want to go ahead and let this cool off a little bit. Open up the expansion tank and top it off as needed. So at this point here, we just fired up the vehicle itself, and it is sucking in that coolant. It's not hot enough yet to make this a concern as far as the pressure here. Now that we have this filled up, go ahead and put our lid on. If you'd like to, you can go ahead and go for a road test. Bring it back, check that level. You do want to make sure that that maintains at that max line there. Now we do want to go ahead and double check our oil level, because when we disconnected the two cooler lines from the side of the radiator, we lost some oil there. So go ahead and check the oil level and give this a wipe. Insert that and double check that level. And we are down just a little bit, so we do want to go ahead and top off our oil level. We're going to come on over to the top of the engine itself. Right here in the center is our oil fill. Pop that off. Now, according to our dipstick, we're about a half a quart low on oil. Add what is recommended according to that oil level on the dipstick. Go ahead and pop that cover on and recheck. You're just going to continue to do this until your oil level is where it needs to be. And there we are, perfect. Right at the top of that cross hatch. If you're at the lower portion of the cross hatch, this is 1 quart. And we're at our perfect height right now. So go ahead and install that. Now on the top side here, we're going to install our 2 radiator pins. And press that in. It should line up on the top of the radiator. And get this started a couple threads. And we'll do the same for the driver's side. Once those are started a couple threads, go ahead and snug them down. Install our upper intake here, twist this down inside, connect it to the air filter base. Good, line this up. I'll go ahead and get our bolt started here. Once we get those started, we'll go ahead and snug those down.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.